They say age takes life away. But what if something far more unsettling is quietly shortening it? Do you dare to know the 5 hidden reasons? The clock ticked louder than usual in the hospital waiting room. Dr. Samuel Hayes leaned back in his chair, staring at the chart in his trembling hands. The fluorescent lights buzzed above, casting a pale glow on the walls that smelled faintly of bleach. Outside the window, rain tapped softly against the glass, as if keeping count with his pulse. He read the words again, his eyes narrowing, his chest tightening. Why most older people struggle to live past 80. It was not just a report, it was a revelation. The first reason struck him like a blow. Silence. Too many elders lived in houses stripped of laughter, their conversations replaced by the hum of machines. Loneliness hollowed their bodies more fiercely than disease. The second reason chilled him further. The air they breathed. Invisible toxins clung to curtains, carpets, and cracked paint, slowly poisoning lungs that once drew in fresh country winds. The third reason was the cruelest of all: unspoken grief. Years of buried sorrow weighed heavier than any illness, bending their backs, thinning their hearts. Samuel shifted in his seat, the leather creaking beneath him. The chart listed the fourth reason in sharp black letters: disrupted sleep. A lifetime of restless nights, punctured by pain and fear, carved invisible wounds that medicine rarely healed. And then, the fifth reason. He froze, breath caught in his throat. It was written plainly, with no explanation, no statistics, no comfort. Unfinished truths. His vision blurred. The words seemed to move on the page, whispering to him, clawing at him. A chill swept through the room as if the walls themselves Samuel felt the weight of The rain outside grew harder, pounding the window like desperate fists. His breath quickened. The truth inside him clawed its way up, demanding release. The walls seemed to close in, the buzzing light above flickering like a dying flame. The secret pressed against his throat, searing, unbearable. He opened his mouth, but no sound came, only silence. His silence filled the room like a thick fog. Samuel clutched the edge of the chair, his knuckles pale, his chest rising and falling in short, frantic bursts. The hospital walls seemed to lean inward, white tiles reflecting. Through him in jagged fragments, the face of a woman he once loved, the trembling hands of a patient who had begged for honesty, the hollow eyes of a friend who had died believing a lie. Every choice he had made in silence now rose before him, an army of ghosts in the sterile room. The fluorescent light buzzed again, then sputtered out, plunging the room into a dim, uneven glow from the storm. Shadows stretched across the walls like crooked fingers. His breath grew shallow. The report lay scattered on the floor, its words sharp as knives, each line cutting deeper into his conscience. He tried to stand, but his legs faltered, weak under the crushing weight of what he carried. The truth inside him was no longer a thought. It was a living thing. It clawed at his ribs, forcing its way up, demanding air, demanding sound. Samuel staggered toward the window, rain streaking the glass like tears he could not shed. He pressed his forehead to the cold pane, his breath fogging the surface. The storm raged louder, thunder cracking like the shattering of bones. In the reflection, he saw his own eyes staring back at him, hollow, frightened, almost unrecognizable. He whispered then, the first word escaping his lips like a broken prayer. It was not enough. his voice cracked, strangled, torn apart by years of silence. The unfinished truth pushed harder, burning him from the inside. His chest heaved as he tried again, the sound barely human, a raw cry echoing against the empty walls. But still the secret refused to leave him. Still it stayed locked inside, choking him, crushing him. The clock ticked on, steady and merciless. The storm outside howled as though it knew what he could not confess. Samuel sank to his knees, the cold floor biting into him. He felt the truth rise once more, searing, unstoppable. And he realized with horror that if he could not release it now, it would be the very thing that ended him. His breath rattled in his chest, each gasp sharper than the last. The walls pulsed with his heartbeat. The sterile room no longer a place of healing, but a chamber of judgment. His body trembled, sweat rolling down his temple, his lips moving but refusing to form the words. Unfinished truths. The phrase hissed in his ears like a serpent, tightening around his throat. He clawed at his collar, desperate for air, desperate for release. The storm cracked open the sky, lightning searing the window with a white blaze. For a brief moment the entire room glowed, and he saw them, faces he thought time had buried. The woman with eyes full of trust, the patient with trembling hands, the friend who had believed his silence. They stood in the shadows, their mouths open, waiting, urging him to speak. Samuel's knees buckled harder, his body folding as though crushed beneath invisible weight. The papers on the floor fluttered in the draft from the rattling window, the words blurring into a single line. Unfinished truths. The sound of his pulse roared in his ears, drowning out the thunder, drowning out everything else. The secret surged again, ripping at his chest, forcing his mouth wide in a final, desperate attempt. A guttural sound tore free, raw and jagged, but still no words. The truth remained inside, gnawing, festering, refusing release. And as his body crumpled against the floor, he understood the cruel truth of the fifth reason. Some lives end not from what is spoken, but from what is forever left unsaid. The floor was cold against his cheek, yet Samuel hardly felt it. His vision blurred, shapes bending and twisting into pools of light and shadow. The storm outside receded into a low growl, as if even nature waited for his final decision. His lungs strained, dragging in shallow breaths that rattled like broken glass. The faces lingered around him, patient and watchful. They were no longer accusing, but expectant, as though the silence itself had summoned them here. He reached out a trembling hand, fingers scraping across the polished tile, searching for something solid. But there was nothing, only the weight of years and the truth that refused to loosen its grip. Samuel's lips parted again, a whisper struggling to emerge. It was fragile, thin, a sound almost stolen by the storm. One word escaped, just one, before collapsing into breathless air. The shadows leaned closer, listening, their outlines dissolving into the dim light. He tried again, voice cracking like a dry branch. It was not the full truth, not the whole confession, but a fragment, enough to stir the silence, enough to break the endless grip of secrecy. The room shifted then, lighter, the heavy press against his chest easing. The clock on the wall ticked softer, no longer a hammer, but a gentle rhythm. His eyes closed, body trembling, yet strangely calm. The unfinished truth still remained, but no longer held all its power. He had given it something, even if not everything, and in that surrender, Samuel felt both the weight of loss and the faintest touch of release. The storm outside began to soften, the rain easing into a gentle patter against the glass. The fluorescent light flickered once more, then steadied, casting the room in a pale calm. Samuel lay still, his chest rising slowly, the frantic struggle fading into a weary surrender. The scattered pages of the report rested beside him, their sharp words no longer cutting, only whispering. He closed his eyes, and for the first time in years, the silence felt less like a burden. The faces in the shadows no longer accused him. They seemed to soften, their outlines fading into the quiet hum of the room. His hand slid across the cold floor, brushing the edge of the fallen chart, as though reaching for something just beyond his grasp. A deep breath shuddered through him, lighter, freer. The unfinished truth remained locked inside, but its grip had loosened. Not every truth was meant to be spoken aloud. Some remained as unmarked gravestones, silent but eternal. As the clock ticked on, steady and unbroken, Samuel surrendered to the stillness. His struggle was over, but the lesson lingered like the fading echo of thunder, that what we leave unsaid may shape us more fiercely than what we speak, and that sometimes it is not the years that shorten life, but the weight of the words we never set free.